Welcome to the Week 5 LA City baseball video. Connor Morissette and Alex Scar. San Pedro keeps on winning. Palisades has a slip-up. Birmingham still in a little bit of trouble. Cleveland is hot. So much to get into, Alex. Another great week of baseball in the books.
Yeah, week of league play in the books, like you mentioned. More league play coming. Some tournaments, the spring break. LAUSD spring breaks in about a week. So some of these teams are going to head out of state. They're going to go down to San Diego, play some more really good baseball. Go to Vegas. Lots of fun road trips. Lots of good bus rides for some of these guys, some of these teams to get tight. If you weren't gelling yet, you're going to gel now. Can't wait for it.
Outside looking in, a new team we're discussing this week, North Hollywood. They had a big win over Sylmar on Saturday, and now they're on our radar.
Yeah, they're 10-8 right now, and you talk about it, they won 10-1 over Sylmar, but they had a clean sweep of Arleta earlier in the week. They beat them 18-0 and 10-4. Over those couple of games, Jonathan Kim, he threw 10 innings last week, just gave up 1 run, struck out 14. And then Maccabee Werndorf, maybe the best name in the city section. Goodness gracious. Maccabee Werndorf going 7 for 12, hitting a bomb, 7 RBIs. They go down to San Diego to play in the Lions tournament next. So North Hollywood, they're a Division I team. They're not really in a chance to make an open division run, but they're playing some nice baseball and really nice run here for the Huskies.
Kennedy slipped up against Roosevelt, so we talked about them last week. Couple big wins they had, but losing to Roosevelt kind of makes them fall off a little bit. Granada Hills took 2 tough losses to El Camino Real, so still on the radar, of course. They're the #1 team. It was always going to be an uphill battle. They kept it close in both those games, but so they're on the outside looking in as well. And then Taft falls out of the top 10 this week. I saw them play against Chatsworth. Aaron Bristow, the senior, got the start for the Toreadors in that game. Had a clean first inning, ran into some trouble in the second inning, but still really cool. Talked to some coaches and players after the game. You don't see too many girl pitchers in baseball, of course, because a lot of them end up playing softball, but Erin wanted to play baseball, and she's doing a really excellent job. So anytime you get a chance to watch Taft and watch her pitch, she's got a great curveball, and I hope to see her used a little bit more in the future because she got the quick hook in that game.
Yeah, special player, and when you're playing Chatsworth, you want to make sure you make all the right moves. You don't really have innings to waste.
Exactly.
And Erin's pitched really well so far this season, so it's not like this was just a courtesy nod. You give her the ball for an inning or two.
No, it's Chatsworth. It's a West Valley League game. She got a big start.
She really is one of the better pitchers on that staff, but like you mentioned, this would have been a nice week for Taft. Maybe pick up a win in league because, like we mentioned, they played a really soft schedule early, racked up some of the wins. Here was a quality opponent. Can they go out? Can they beat a good Chatsworth team? The games were close, but they didn't come out on top, and for that, they drop out of our top 10.
And now they have Birmingham, and Birmingham is desperate for wins, so that'll be a tough couple games for Taft. Into our top 10. At 10 this week, we have Banning. They're back after a couple weeks out. Big win over Palisades, kind of a head-scratcher. 8-0 win. Thought Pali, after being rested for a full week, they had no Western League games last week. Thought that maybe they'd come in rested on Saturday and kind of play Banning really hard, especially when Banning had a 13-inning loss earlier in the week. Thought they might be fatigued, but Vincent Sandy, the freshman, threw 6 shutout innings. Then another freshman came in and finished the job for the Pilots. So it's a young team. They've been up and down, kind of inconsistent, but beating Palisades only lost 3 games all year. It's a big win for them, especially after dropping 2 to San Pedro.
Yeah, a bit of on a silver platter. They had a 6-run 6th inning, aided by some errors and some unearned runs. But when you get an opportunity, you got to blow the door wide open, and you got to make sure you capitalize. And that's what Banning did. Angel Jimenez had 2 RBIs in that ball game. And the games against San Pedro, and we're going to talk about San Pedro a little bit later, one of the best teams here in the city. They had a 4-2 loss and then a 7-6 loss, a marathon game, 13 innings like you mentioned. So Banning, they're playing some good baseball. Maybe those Pedro games didn't get them in the win column, but it's pretty clear that they're playing some really good baseball. They're giving these teams their best punch, and they're jumping all the way back into 10 because that 8-0 win over Pali totally shocked us. Banning was playing some good opponents, and they were losing those games. And we thought, okay, maybe they're not a division or an open division team. Maybe they'll be a 1 or 2 seed in Division I. Smack Pali in the face, things have changed.
They get Carson for 2 this week, and that'll be huge for second place in the Marine League right now. Of course, San Pedro could drop to Carson in a couple weeks, and it's not set in stone or anything, but after losing 2 to San Pedro, Banning, it's an uphill battle. Carson's going to want to keep pace with San Pedro, so those are some 2 huge games. At number 9, San Fernando, they're 12-4, 3-0 last week, swept Canoga Park really easy. I thought those games might be closer. That was not the case. They beat Narbonne 1-0 on Saturday. Tony Meza struck out 10 in that victory. What's the ceiling for this team? They're kind of hanging around the lower spots in our top 10. Can they make a run? Is Meza and some of these guys who've come back from injury enough for them to really get in the mix in the open division, or do you think it'll be a first-round exit?
I think the ceiling for them, Valley Mission League title.
Okay,
I don't know how far they're going to go after that because, like you mentioned, they're kind of in the 10 to 12 range right now of this top 10, which means they're going to get a really tough opponent early. I think they got a chance, go undefeated in league, win the Valley Mission League, put that on the mantle. I just don't know how deep they can make a run.
Okay, and they have 2 games this week against really easy opponent.
Yeah,
it's
Panorama. They should
so,
sweep again.
Yeah, so
easily.
that'll be a good week, and then they'll head into, it's either Vegas or San Diego. They're going to some tournament the week after. At number 8, we have the Pauley Parrots. They're 8-7-1. They swept Verdugo Hills with 2-2-0 wins last week. Elias Galaviz with a no-hitter.
A no-no.
Yeah, very impressive. And then J-Rod, Juan Rodriguez over there, threw a shutout as well. So they got their 2 pitchers. The question, again, like it has been every week with a lot of these teams, but Pauley especially and Pally, the bats.
Yeah.
And they beat Verdugo Hills twice. The pitching was great, but for them to make a run, got to start hitting a little bit more. And we'll see. It's kind of a wait and see with them.
Yeah, a couple of classic Pauley Parrot victories, right? The pitching goes out and dominates, gives you a gem, shuts them down, and the bats give you just enough. A couple of 2-0 wins over Verdugo Hills. Verdugo's not exactly a tough opponent. We thought that they would kind of blow them out a little bit, but they played a good Westlake team. I was encouraged by that game on Saturday.
Lost
they
4-3.
Only lost 4-3, so that's a good baseball team. They brought the sticks in that one. They got Monroe this week. Here's the time. You're going to see a lot of straight fastballs. You're probably going to get a lot of guys on. They're going to walk you a little bit.
Now, these will be some lopsided scores.
You hope so, right? You hope that these games end in 5 innings, and then St. Genevieve's on Saturday, who Cleveland just smoked, I think, 13-0.
And Pauley beat Cleveland, so should be another
like
annihilation.
There should be a few tasty matchups here on the card for Pauley. Get the bats going, because the pitching is headed in the right direction. And you talked about San Fernando. You asked, what's the ceiling? I thought San Fernando, a first-round exit. For Pauley, they can surprise a team. They can definitely upset one of the best teams here in the city, whether they get a first-round draw against a Cleveland or an El Camino Real or Birmingham or whoever. They've got the pitching to shut them down. It's the bats, and those bats will tell if they can win a ball game.
Yeah, if you have 2 pitchers, I don't care who else is on the roster, you're going to have a shot. So Pauley fans should be encouraged. At 7, Chatsworth, 10-6-1. 3-0 last week, beating Taft twice, and then Culver City on Saturday. I was at that second Taft game where they won 4-2. Alonzo Castellanos, a senior for Chatsworth, really stole the show in that game.
Yeah.
3 RBIs to the plate, threw a complete game, ran into a little bit of trouble in the 7th, but saw it out, ended up getting the win, did a really nice job in that game. So we knew Gabe Achicaro coming into this year was going to be a really strong pitcher for them, and it looks like they found their number 2 in Castellanos. He did a great job against that Taft lineup, and like we said with Pauley, you got 2 pitchers, you got a chance.
Yeah.
Chatsworth, very good for them to start. West Valley played 2-0. I'm sure they're really, really happy with that. And now they got a chance to build on that with 2 games against Granada Hills this week.
Yeah, it's got to feel good to get the catcher Roman Wayne back into action. He had missed some time with injury. Now you get your starting catcher back. It's going to make your pitchers feel a little more comfortable. And, of course, getting that bat back in the lineup is always important. He had a couple of RBIs in that week against Taft. Like you mentioned, they beat him twice. Then they beat Culver City 6-1. So now Chatsworth's on a bit of a roll. We weren't sure exactly what this team had. Had an up-and-down March, a couple of sparse weeks where they weren't playing a ton of baseball. But now it seems like they're on a bit of a roll, and they're getting guys back. And you mentioned Alonzo Castellanos. Talk a ton about some of the other guys. Him coming out of the woodwork, throwing a CG against the Taft lineup. He's been hitting the ball pretty well, swinging the bats well. That's a good sign.
And I talked to him after the game. He was just a really nice kid as well. So shout out to Alonzo Castellanos. Great pitcher, but great guy. At number 6, Carson, 13-5, 3-0 week. A lot of 3-0 weeks for these city section teams. They beat Gardena twice.
A lot of bad league teams out there.
That's true. One of those games, though, was only 1-0 against Gardena. That was a little surprising. Huge games against Banning this week. Try and keep pace with San Pedro. I feel like if you're Carson, you win these 2 games.
Yeah.
Go out and Banning, you had a nice win over Pally. Got a little lucky, I want to say, in that 6th inning, a couple errors, whatever. Go out, show you're the better team, and sweep the week.
Yeah, is it about time for us to talk about Juan Camarena getting some scholarship offers? Should we do our part, maybe get a little bit of a push? Some of the JUCOs in the area. The kid's 3 for 3 against the game at Garfield. Had a 2-run bomb, 3 RBIs. He's swinging the stick like nobody else in the city right now. Jaja Bellinger also went 2 for 4. Had a couple of stolen bags. Like you mentioned, they get Banning twice this week. Banning's feeling themselves a little bit. They just took down Pally, who's a really good team. But we know Pedro, they beat Banning twice. So if you can't beat Banning twice, that's going to set up some really big implications for Pedro towards the end of the month. So this is a huge matchup here for Carson. I expect them to sweep, and 15-5 going into the final couple weeks of league play, that's a great spot to be sitting.
Everyone knew Johnny Tincher's name going into the season.
Yeah.
One of the best catchers, if not the best catcher in the city section. You thought, catcher, city section, his name popped up, but Juan Camarena is doing his part. And
He's raking his way to the top of the
When we
list.
do our city section team of the year, there's only one catcher. So if Johnny maybe gets hurt again, you wouldn't want to see that, but he's had kind of a tough start to the year. Juan's been so consistent, and, I don't want to talk about awards right now, but just something that's in the back of our mind. Cameron has had a great year.
Yeah, he's mashing his way right into our attention, and you talk about Carson, as they go, their hitting goes. They've been scoring a pile of runs. Camarena hitting in the middle of that lineup. We've talked about the freshman Dylan Lena before. Bellinger doing it both on both sides, on the mound and at the dish. Really complete lineup here for the Colts.
Yep, made D1 last year. Bona fide Open Division team this year.
Yeah, easy.
They're coming.
Sharpie.
Yeah, they're coming for blood this year. 5 Palisades, 15-3. So they had the week off, 1 game, and it didn't really show up.
Go well.
Yeah, it was an 8-0 defeat to Banning. Wyatt Longcar got the start, and what did he strike out 9 or 11?
Struck out 11.
Yeah, he had a lot of strikeouts, but only lasted 4 and a third, 2/3, I believe. So the bullpen came in and got a little messy there, and Banning ended up winning 8-0. So that's the concern with Palisades. The pitching, like we said, if you have pitchers, you're going to have a chance. So they have these great pitchers with Lucas Braun and Wyatt Longcar, and if Kokiar comes back and is able to pitch, he could be a big part of what they do as well. But the bats, there have been some games this year where you just kind of scratch your head with Pally and say, you know, you got to get the bats going a little bit more, and that's been the challenge all year.
Well, here's the thing. Wyatt Longcar strikes out the world. I'm not sure what his strikeout rate is, but he struck out 11 in 4 2/3 innings. I'm not a math major, but how many outs is that? 15? Fewer than 15 outs? 11 strikeouts in those 14 outs. That's humongous. That's absolutely dominating a lineup, and Lucas Braun has proven he's one of the best number 2s. He'd be the number 1 on most staffs here in the city section. You talk about Will Kokiard, also Cord Vanley. They got a little roughed up out of the bullpen. Not the best way you want to head into more league play. They get Westchester this week. My mantra, clear eyes, full hearts, cannot lose. That's not just my motto. That is a fact. You cannot lose these games against Westchester. You have to go out. You have to dominate this lineup. They're going to walk the world. They're going to put a lot of guys on. You're going to have chances. You have to capitalize. They need to go 2-0.
All right, we'll see if they're able to do that. I think they will be.
I think so, too.
And they'll bounce back because they're frustrated. You know, they had won so many games in a row. Was it 11 in a row or
11,
something?
Yeah,
and
11.
for them to drop to Banning, a bit of a surprise.
They're pissed.
Yeah, they'll be angry. And Banning was pissed too because they had just lost in 13 innings to San Pedro after being up like 6-2.
Man.
Yeah, so it was Pally was kind of rested, kind of chilling. The Pacific Palisades, maybe doing a little surfing, hanging out
by the beach. It was
Banning,
a nice day out Saturday.
Yeah, Banning was frustrated.
It was a night game too, you know.
And they came out and showed it. All right, 4 Birmingham. Man, they were number 1 for a while, but they slipped to 4 this week. 9-9, up and down for performance at the National Classic, going 1-2. I don't know. Are you concerned?
Well, a little bit, but one of the silver linings here.
It's the National Classic, so
it's the National
good
Classic.
teams, but
there's some good teams. They lost to Gar on Mountain Ridge, but they beat Shaker Heights and Santiago, so they split, right? They had some good games.
So 2-2. I saw one score wasn't reported on MaxPreps. So
yeah, they beat Santiago. Okay. They went a little up and down. Freshman Chris Romero, I was really impressed by. He went 7 innings, just gave up 2 hits, 1 run allowed, struck out 6 in the game against Mountain Ridge. And Isaiah Arellano, 8 for 11 in the tournament. Kid was raking, driving in a whole pile of runs, bunch of ribeye steaks for Arellano. So it's nice to see some of these other guys, other pieces of the lineup step up. Tincher's been working his way back from injury. Eric Rivas, a little quiet. Didn't see a whole lot of Albert Garcia, but it's nice to see Sebastian Cueva, Isaiah Arellano, some of these other guys, freshman Chris Romero. A little bit of a panic time if you're just looking at wins and losses because the defending champions are 9-9. Still one of the best teams here, and we all know when you get into the playoffs, Birmingham, they finished, I think, 4th in league last year, and they were the defending city champions. So it doesn't really matter. Once you get into the playoffs, all bets are off.
And they'll have a chance to right the ship this week against Taft.
Sure they will.
2 games. Kind of feel bad for Taft starting with Chatsworth and then Birmingham.
Yeah, right into the buzzsaw.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes because Birmingham, they're desperate for wins. They're 0-2 in the West Valley League after losing 2 to Cleveland. So, you know, I expect Birmingham to go out and take care of business
Cleveland
this week.
created a monster.
Yeah, get to 2 wins and then, you know, it's game by game. You don't want to look too ahead, but right now they're 9-9. They got a little bit of work to do, and I think it'll start this week against Taft. Into the top 3. I think right now, if the season ended, these 3 teams, I'd say 33% chance to win the Open Division, 33% chance, 33% chance. I think all these teams have a good shot. And it starts with San Pedro, 17-1. They're the best hitting team in the city, and I think it's not really close. They swept Banning. 1 game went into 13 innings. They found a way. I think they were down like 4 runs at one point, had a big 6th or 7th, and then next thing you know, it was like 8 p.m. and the game was still going on, and they won in 13. They beat Taft on Saturday. Dylan Kordick had the walk-off in the 13-inning game. They're Open Division title contenders because of these bats. The question with them, Anthony Scogdemio, can he give you enough in the playoffs? I think he can, but the bats are always going to keep them in games, and when the bats are at that level, you have a chance to win, and it's a really high level.
When you're hitting the ball, you're winning games. Like you talked about, Dylan Kordick with the game-winning RBI. We've talked about Josh Duarte being a big guy over there. Mikey Brucelis, 5 RBIs in the Taft game. So these are new names. We just got done talking about how Birmingham's getting some of these new guys into the fold. St. Pedro, the bats are alive, and it's more than one guy. It's not just Duarte. It's not just Travis Connolly, but it's some of these other guys stepping up. And it takes a village to turn a team into a championship team. You need a lot of good coaching, you need really good teammates, you need good chemistry. And I've seen a lot of this San Pedro team. They're tight, they're close, they're having a lot of fun. And they're 17-1. How can you not enjoy that? They're winning baseball games. I wouldn't want to face them right now.
Nope, me neither. And 2 with Rancho Dominguez this week, so should be an easy sweep. But from there, we're all looking forward to those games against Carson.
Oh, yeah. Carson and San Pedro, I think that's going to decide which team really has the momentum going into the final week. Because if we see Anthony Scognamio, I'm sure he's going to pitch against Carson. He struggles a little bit. Book's going to be out. Hey, this is what he throws in 2 strikes. This is how he tries to attack right-handed hitting lineups. Some of these other teams are going to get a bit of a taste. And that's just going to build momentum for one team towards the end of the year.
At number 2, we have Cleveland, 2-0 last week. Big win over Thousand Oaks, 6-5. I was there, and then they really spanked St. Genevieve on Saturday, 13-0. In that 6-5 win over Thousand Oaks, Braden Lowe, a freshman over there at Cleveland, came in for Chris Lozano in relief. And Thousand Oaks, let me tell you, Alex, they have a really scary lineup.
Yeah.
Max Muncy is a kid over there who hit a bomb off of Lozano.
Muncy?
Yep, it's his name.
A little old.
And
in high school, isn't he?
You'd think so, but a different guy. And it was just one of the furthest shots I've ever seen. So Lowe comes in, faces Muncy, and you kind of think, all right, this is a freshman going up against one of the best power hitters in the area.
To the woodshed.
This won't end well. Muncy hit one ball and that was foul, so we'll give him his due, but then he ended up striking out. And
just a long strike.
Sid Lopez, the coach over there, manager, I should say, for Cleveland, to have that kind of confidence in a freshman really impressed me. And for Cleveland to go on the road and get a win against a really good Thousand Oaks team after sweeping Birmingham, I think that makes me think they're even more legitimate than I previously thought. That win was great, and then, taking care of business on Saturday. Watch out for Cleveland. They're dangerous.
Yeah. No, here's the deal with Cleveland. They have absolutely no fear. They don't care who they're going to play.
That's true.
They're going to go in there, and they're going to give you everything they have. Kind of an undersized team, a little small. They got some good size in Alec Garcia, but other than that, not a physically imposing team, but they do all the little things really, really well. In the game against St. Genevieve, Chris Lozano, 2 for 3, 2 RBIs. Esteban Perez went 2 for 2. Ivan Castillo went 1 for 3, had 3 RBIs. More and more names every week. You talk about Braden Lowe, the freshman. Devin Martone had a nice couple of innings against St. Jen's. A lot of guys stepping up, filling that role. Cleveland, they're a scary team right now. And I mentioned they have no fear. Other teams ought to feel a little bit of fear playing them because you're going to get Cleveland's best punch. They got nothing to lose. They're playing a little bit with house money. They got no title to defend. So they're not resting on any laurels. They're going to give every team their best punch. They're a scary team right now.
And at number 1, El Camino Real. Are we crazy to have them at number 1? No. Eric Sondheimer in the LA Times does not have them in the top 25, has Cleveland, has San Pedro. Daily News top 10. Cleveland's very much ahead of El Camino Real. They made the championship a year ago. Probably should have won that game if you were there.
Yes, they were.
They
were close.
Had a tough way to finish that one. Birmingham took it, so they're angry about that. And they're just being consistent.
Yeah.
Took 2 from Granada last week, went to Lakewood on Saturday, beat them 3-0. They have the 2 pitchers, Cole Kitchen, Adam Christopher. They have a good lineup.
Yes, they do.
Andy Ombre's coming back from the transfer sit-out period, hit the grand slam last week like we talked about. How come more people, I should say, aren't talking about this team?
Because they're wrong, Connor.
Okay.
They're wrong. I think El Camino Real, I really do. I think they're the best team here in the city. But you know what? It doesn't matter what any of us think. They play each other twice this week. It's going to put all of this crap to bed. Are
That's
they better
true.
than Cleveland? Is Cleveland better than they are? Doesn't matter.
What if they split? Then who knows?
If they split, then we're going to have the same conversation next week. But if one team goes out and sweeps, then we'll have a very firm conversation of over who's number 1. But just talking about Elko right now, they swept Granada Hills, won the first game 8-2.
Yeah, you were there.
I was at that one. It looked like a little bit maybe Granada Hills had a shot to win that ball game, but just slowly but surely get a couple guys on. Andy Ombre's hit a ball to the wall. I mean, the kid absolutely crushed it. You got a guy in the middle of the lineup like that, not to mention some of the other hitters. Parker Chesnitsky's hitting the ball real well right now. Joey Klein's hitting the baseball well. And then, of course, Adam Christopher. He struck out 11 in a 2-0 win over Granada Hills. I don't know if Cleveland has an arm electric like Adam Christopher or Cole Kitchen for that matter.
So
I like
Lozano's he's been so reliable though.
So consistent, so reliable. He's
questions
a king
about
of
the number 2
starts. You know, a lot of guys can go out there and strike out the world. You need to have a little bit more command. Lozano's been able to do that, but the electricity that you get out of the staff at El Camino Real, top to bottom, I think they're the best team in the city. But hey, what do we know? Let's let them play.
Yeah, and Wednesday and then Friday we'll see firsthand just who's the best at this moment. And remember, it's right now it's April. It's going to be a little different in May, and who knows what happens come Dodger Stadium. That's why baseball is so crazy.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know,
you get swept, and then
Elko could lose 2-0 in both of these games, and drop 2 games in league, and then go out in the playoffs, play Cleveland, and beat them. It doesn't. It really doesn't matter.
Baseball is so weird.
Baseball's the best.
So yeah, we got Elko #1, and like I kind of started off that little tirade earlier, no one else is really giving them that much love. So the SCPI crew has a lot of love for El Camino Real, and see if they can prove it this week. King of K's, Alex, Tony Mesa over there at San Fernando, 10 Ks in that 1-0 win over Narbonne, for San Fernando. And he pitched really well against Silmar, a game I was at earlier this year. He's a junior, might be one of the best junior pitchers in the section. Bigger guy, can bring some heat. I like what I've seen from him so far this year. He gets hot in the playoffs, who knows?
Yeah, Tony Mesa, here's the mantle. I'm going to throw it down. You get Panorama this week. Can you strike out more than double digits? Can you go out, not just 10, I want 12.
Maybe they rest him. Maybe they give
15.
someone else a start.
No, he's got to get the innings, man. I want 15 Ks, Tony Mesa. And I think we'd be a little remiss to not give a shout-out to Adam Christopher, striking out 11 in that game against Granada Hills. Couple of big strikeout totals there. But Tony Mesa, he's our big King of Ks this week.
He gets the King of Ks nod. Games we're paying attention to this week. We've already hit on a lot of these. Carson Banning is going to be huge. Those 2 games, of course.
Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah, of course. El Camino Real, Cleveland Wednesday, Friday. Chatsworth, Granada Hills Wednesday, Friday. Those are kind of the pick of the litter. Got any more for me? Or is that?
Those are the ones. The big league matchups. Those are going to decide some of the momentum builders, some of the pitching matchups, things going forward towards the playoffs. These are the big matchups. These are the big weeks. Let's get going, man. Let's get to a ball game.
Let's do it. That's the Week 5 LA City Section baseball video. He's Alex Scar. I'm Connor Morissette. We'll see you next time.